Good day, welcome to this training session. It is South African Quality Assured 120344. There is 4 parts to this training. Today we're going to deal with part 1, which is the Occupational Health and Safety Act itself. There's then different regulations. There is then also the Mine Health and Safety Act, as well as the quote. So every one of these acts form part of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. The act is there for your protection. It acts there as a guidance of what must be done, and you will see many times it says shall. And we're going to go through the act. There's parts of the act they are marked in red. It's nothing to do with us, to do with the ministers and government officials and stuff like that. You need to know it's there, but it's nothing that you can do about it. We will focus on what is important to us, what's important to you as a person that works within a company. Like I said, the act starts with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. There's regulations, Part 3 is the Mine Health and Safety Act. And then we're going to deal with quote. The Part 1, we're going to have a quick glance at the Act. Learners found competent in this unit standard will be able to explain the basic principles of relevant current health and safety legislation and the consequences of non-compliance. There's very few things in this country that there is a shall. In other words, it means if you don't do that, there's dire consequences for you, and there's nothing you can do if you violate this. I was in a court, a CCMA case, where a guy worked at 25 meters, didn't hook up, and he got fired for it. I went to the CCMA. I was thrown out the court because who am I to demand this? And I said to the woman, to the chairperson, I said, listen, it says shall. There's no, who the hell do I think I am? And she threw me out the court, and we were found guilty. From there, we went to the Labour Court. Labour Court looked at this and says, what's happening here? She says, go back. And we then went to a lady that did the chairperson, or the chair lady, and she just looked at us and says, why are you here? She said, look, I'm sorry, it's shall. We have no authority to override what the ministers and the courts has already ruled. The Act is split into 3 parts, like I said. It's the Act itself, it's regulation, the Quote Act. The Act starts with definitions. We're not going to deal with all the definitions. The definitions is there is when there's uncertainty, you can go to the definition and find out what it really means. You will find that but sometimes in court cases, that the definitions need to be defined. What we're going to look at is just this 6 areas of the Act, which is directly to do with what we do on a daily basis. We're looking at a hazard or a danger. It's anything that's a potential to cause harm. That means anything you work with, whether it's a welder, grinder, whether it's driving, whether it's walking over the road, there's a hazard in anything that we do, in absolutely everything. What is an accident? Incident is any unplanned event that resulted in the injury or illness of people or damage or loss of property or equipment. Risk, it's a likelihood of a substance, activity, or process to cause harm. Risk matrix, determine the risk to a person or material in a number standard. What a number standard means, we've got a 1 to 25, and we work out what is the chances, the likelihood of this hazard hurting you, and what is the consequence of that hurt. Are they going to kill you, maim you, or is it going to take a long time to hurt you? Let's take smoking. Most of you guys are familiar with people smoking. When you put your first cigarette, you're not going to drop down to the ground and be dead. There will be no marketing in that. What cigarettes does is over a period of time, it then brings harm. It depends on the brand you smoke, depends on the quantity you smoke, and depends on the duration of that smoking, and that will determine the risk, what's going to happen to you. A shop is a place where you work or work being conducted, the standard, the set rule and practice on which all individuals need to measure themselves. So we put a standard, it's a benchmark, and we all have to go to that standard. Who must follow the OHS Act? Simple question. Who is responsible, or who does the Act talk to? The Act provides for health and safety of persons at work. So any business, it doesn't matter what the business is, the Act is to do with them. and the health and safety of people in connection with the use of plant or machinery. So it's any person at work, any person working a plant, any person working machinery. But it goes a step further. The protection of persons other than the person who work against hazards of health and safety arising out of in connection with the activity of the person at work. What does that mean? You'll see later in the Act that you have a responsibility as a person, not just for your own safety, but the people around you, even people that you don't even know. That can be 20 kilometers from where you are, but because of the actions you're doing here, it has an effect on those. Nice term is that it's got a butterfly effect. In other words, what happens here ripples out to the rest. So nothing that you do, in most cases, and when you work, is just around where you are. It may have consequences to other people that you have never even met. The rest of the definitions we are putting up here for you. You can go through them. But like I said, these are especially aimed at when there's a court case that everybody understands exactly what they're talking about. Health and safety standard, any standard, irrespective of whether or not it has the force of law, which, if applicable to the purposes of this Act, will, in the opinion of the Minister, promote the attainment of an object of this Act. In other words, the standard is this occupation of safe standard is for everybody. All right, so there's this medical surveillance. There's some stuff that has to be done. So let's get quickly through this. All right, then there's a breakdown of the Act. Actually, it's the first part of the Act. It starts with 1 all the way down to 43. So there's a hell of a lot of acts within this first part of the Occupational Health and Safety Act. There's a lot of things that we need to cover today. All right, section 1 and 2, if you can see, it's marked in red. To do with the Minister. He got some things that he has to do. That is just to do with the council that determines the occupational health and safety. This council usually goes to the International Labour Organization. From there, the Act moves all the way through the United Nations into the UK and Europe, and then it comes down to us, and they change a little bit here, a little bit there, but eventually everything this council will then, with their participation within the International Labour Organization, will then adjust the Act or make changes to the Act. All right, again, there's a construction council. There's a period they're going to be in the office, and especially the technical committee. All these acts has to be very highly qualified, and like I said, they correspond quite a bit with the international labour organizations. There's nothing we can do about this. Whatever these guys decide, they decide. We, as safety officers, have some input into it, but that's about it. All right, it starts section 7, health and safety policy. Again, it's nothing to do with you as managers. Top management, that means the CEO and the manager on top, and the guy appointed as 8.1, 8.2, they have a responsibility to prepare a written policy concerning the protection and health and safety of employees at work, including description, organization, and arrangements for carrying out and reviewing the policy. Everything starts with policy. It's intent. What is the CEO of the company is going to do? So the first thing you'll see is that they ask, what is the policy of the company? In the policy, the CEO signs off, and every year it gets reviewed. Right, every employer shall. Again, let's have a look at section 8 and the word shall here. When you have a look at the word shall, you have no option. You don't have a say in it. The Occupational Health and Safety Act is not a democracy. It's autocracy. In other words, it tells you what you shall do. And that's the end of it. And that's what the lady at the CCMA, when she chased me out of the office and told me I'm an asshole, said to me, who are you? So I said, I'm nobody. I just tell you what the law says. And under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, I'm a safety agent and a safety manager. You are wrong. You have no say about it. You are not the minister of this country. You are just a government official. You have zero say. You have to follow law. I don't think she liked it very much. I explained to her straight, there's so many shalls that she has no say. This guy's wrong, end of story. And she thought I was joking. We met again, like I said, and she had to apologize. She didn't like that very much. Okay. Without digressing into the generality of the employer's duties under Section 1, the matter to which the duties refer include in particular. All right, the employer shall provide and maintain, as far as reasonably practicable, a working environment that is safe without risk to the health of his employer. Now, let me explain something to you. There is no work without risk. It doesn't exist. Even if you lay in your bed and don't go to work, there's risk of you getting sick and bed bugs and all kinds of things, because there's nothing that is without risk. There is nothing. Crossing a road has got risk. But as reasonably practical as we, as employee, will go as far as possible to make sure that we mitigate the risk, train you about the risk. That's why we do this. But you as managers enforce this. You understand that you represent the employer, or the 16.1, as 8.1, 8.2, and 8.7, and as a safety rep, you represent the people, but there's responsibilities. There is nothing that is without risk. The provision and maintenance of a system of work. There is certain systems of work. You have to make sure that you follow those systems of work to eliminate, mitigate any hazard or potential hazard. There is a hierarchy of risk that we deal with. Some we can, but it comes to a point where we cannot deal with the risk. We've done as much as we can do to deal with that risk. So the risk is there. You look at the hazard, you can't fix it. You give PPE. The last outcome is to give PPE, but there is still risk. The hazard is still there, but we've done everything we can do to prevent people from getting hurt. Making arrangements for ensuring as far as practical. Again, there is some practicality that you just can't go. You have to work 50 meters in the air. They've put the railings up. They've done everything. And I used to decide to go and play rugby or soccer and jump over the thing to do parkour. The reality is you're going to fall all the way down at 50 meters and you're going to be dying. The company's done everything in their power to explain to you can't do this. And you decide to go parkour and jump over the railing and walk on the edge. There's only so much we can do. All right? The safety in the absence of risk of health in connection with the production, processing, use, handling, storage, transport, particles of substance. There is some stuff that's dangerous and we have to deal with them very carefully. As far as really practical, again, what hazards to the health of safety of person are attached to any work. So any work we do, there is some stuff that we have to do. There's hazards to it, and we explain to you, listen, this is the hazards in this. We've done a job safety analysis. Please be careful. Don't do this. Don't do that. Keep yourself safe. So we do everything apart to make sure you don't get hurt. And if you follow these rules, the chance of you getting hurt then becomes extremely small. Provide such information, instruction, training, and supervision as may be necessary to ensure, as far as practicable, the health and safety at work of his employees. That is why we employ 8.1. She's a supervisor. 8.1, don't pick up a hammer and go and hit stuff. 8.1 is, and your 8.2 is there to manage the plant, to make sure that people work, to make sure that everything is running safe. You can't hit a hammer because somebody else in the back may do something stupid. As far as practical, not permit any employee to do any work or produce, process, use, handle, store, and transport any article of substance, operate a plant or machinery unless the precautionary measures contemplated in paragraph B and D and any other measures that may be prescribed has been taken. In other words, we do everything in our power to make sure that you are safe. But if, like I said, if you're in a 50 meters, you play a park tour and you want to jump off there from the top, that is just stupid. We've done everything we can, and then you go and do something that you should not have done. And that's why they're supervisors. The supervisors need to check this. And again, in every case that I've been in, every time people got hurt, it's the supervisors and the CEOs and these oaks that gets all the hidings. You have a safety rep sitting in here, you don't get any hidings, okay? You pretty much represent the people in your in the meetings, and you go, you walk with them, do everything, but there is no legal consequences towards you. So you are pretty much the most protected person in this room right now if you are a safety officer or a safety rep. Taking all necessary measurements to ensure that the requirements of the act are complied with by every person his employment or on a premise under his control where the plant machinery is used. In other words, you as a supervisor, as a manager, or the owner of a company, you need to make sure enforce such measures as may be necessary in the interest of health and safety. You see, this is again, and go back to that meeting decision made that I had. See, they didn't understand this. We enforce such measures, and sometimes we fire people. It's just the way it is. Years ago, if one guy get drunk at a mine, they blow red, they just chase him away. Now this has gone so far that if one guy blows it, cancel an entire contract. So yeah, safety is becoming a serious issue. That's why we're getting enforced measures. Ensure works performed and the plant or machinery used under the general supervisor of a person trained to understand the hazards associated with and who has authority to ensure the appropriate measures taken by the employee are implemented. In other words, everybody work under supervision. There's always somebody checking, always somebody making sure that people do the right thing and that they follow the rules and regulations, especially on occupational health and safety. Also, all employees to be informed regarding scope and authority as contemplated in 37(1)(b). So what we're doing is saying that, look, there is the hazards involved with it. These are the mitigating things we're doing. Here's PPE to protect you, but you also have responsibility with, and then put supervision over here to make you are supervisor to make sure that these people that under you follow these regulations. You have a duty under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, once you receive the appointment, to make sure that these A to J things are in place. General duties of employers and self-employed person to person other than their employees. Have a look at your shall. Every employer shall conduct his undertaking in such a manner as to ensure, as far as reasonably practical, that a person other than those in his employment who may be directly affected by his activities are not thereby exposed to hazards other than health and safety. The Occupational Health and Safety Act goes further than just what you're doing on your premises. Whatever you do, if it goes out, in Mayton, we had a case with the guys working, they do put this stuff in and they galvanize it, and their staff would go all the way out and people start coughing. They're supposed to have a system to clean that. And under this act, under the Environmental Act, they've got serious problems, especially on the air pollution. Every self-employed person shall conduct his undertaking in such a manner as ensures, as far as reasonably practical, that the and other persons who may be directly affected by his activities are not thereby exposed to hazards to their health and safety. All right, so there's duties, not just to the workers, but it goes beyond the workers. Section 10 and 11, again, this is to do with the minister, not our problem. All right, general duties of employer regarding listed work. I made this red because not all work are listed. There's just certain work that you do that are listed that causes serious effects. If you are in a chemical plant that you've got listed work, then there's some stuff that you have to do. For general companies, not a problem. It's if you work in Sassels, you work at Eskom, those people that's got work that are listed that needs to be sorted. All right, duty to inform. Section 13. Without derogating from any specific duty imposed on employers by the Act, every employer shall, again, here we're following with the shall, as far as reasonably practicable, cause every employee to be made conversant with the hazards to his health and safety attached to any work which he has to perform. We do this by inductions, we do this through training, but you as a supervisor and as a manager, when you see something that is a hazard that is not on the risk assessment and has not been identified, you put it on your daily safe task instructions. Once you've done that, you inform the safety officer, say, listen, you need to update your risk assessment. I find something here that's not in your risk assessment. It is extremely important. As supervisors and as managers, please understand it. Your safety officer is there to advise you what the law says. Your safety officers are there to make sure your people do their work. They have extreme authority and they can put down extreme authority. But your safety officers are not welders. Your safety officers are not artisans. Some of them can do working at heights, but they're not crane operators. They know all the hazards associated with the work, but they are not licensed to do that. And they are not the welders. So when you as a safety manager, or as a manager, as 8.1 appointee on a site, and you see you've gone through risk assessment, and you do daily task safe instruction, you say, listen, but that is a new hazard. We haven't seen that before. And believe me, it happens. Because your work is always shifting, it's always changing. An environment is always changing. And you're picking up new hazards. You write it down, and you then, when you file this into the Google Drive, you find the safety officer, listen, I picked up this and this and this hazards. You need to have a look at it. The safety officer will look at it, investigate it, and then it'll add it to the risk assessment, and that information then goes filtered down to you, and then it goes filtered down into the worker so that everybody knows about it. And it shouldn't take more than 48 hours for this new hazards to land on a risk assessment, and then to filter through to the workforce in a form of training, or a form of toolbox talks, or a form of informing them. All right. Inform the health and safety representative concerning beforehand of inspections. Your safety reps, that is you guys, it said also, you are part of the parcel. You will work very closely with the safety officer, and you will be there when inspection is done, investigation is done, formal inquiries, of which has been notified by the inspector. So if there's inspectors coming, you will be notified. Inform the health and safety representatives as soon as reasonably practical of the occurrence of an incident in a workplace, in the section of workplace for which representative has been designated. So your safety rep must be informed, and it's his job to make sure that with the manager, the safety officer is as quickly informed as possible, so the investigations can start immediately into what is happening. Let me just pause there for a second. To the management, I don't go in to hit the person over the head that got hurt. My job is to find out why I got hurt. I need to follow a fault analysis, or tree analysis, or fishbone analysis, and figure out, why did this person get hurt? Let me give you an example. But a few years ago, we had a guy called Professor. No, he's not a professor, it's just his name is Professor. He came into my office and he's cut his hand. And he doesn't understand, he's got a gloves on, but he's bleeding. I said, Professor, what the hell happened? No, he doesn't understand. He says, look, Andreas, I cut my hand. Okay, so the first aider came in, we fixed his hand up and said, show me where. And they had a jig table, and they've taken off all the jigs, and they were going to put up new jigs. And as we go through the table, we found that as they grind off one of the jigs, it was a small little, it's not big, but it was flame sharp. And that is what even cut through his glove. So what we done is we then cleaned it up and then make it safe for everybody. Now, it's a little cut. You think, but why are you minding about that? You know, but sometimes when artisans, especially boiler makers, they measure stuff, they some take off their gloves and they measure this thing, and that little thing could have cut a serious chunk of into a guy's hand. And as artisans, I know your hands are always in a fire, but we try very hard to protect your hands, because this is how you make your money. So it's something small that we investigate and make sure that it doesn't go further. Section 14, general duties of employees at work. Every employee shall at work, gentlemen, your employee's got certain responsibilities. Take reasonable care of the health and safety of himself and of other persons who may be affected by his acts or omission. Remember, we go back right in the beginning, we said this: as regard to any duty or requirement imposed on his employer or any other person by this act to cooperate with such employer or person to enable the duty or requirements performed and complied with. In other words, he's got the responsibility that whatever is in the act, whatever is in regulation, he must obey to. Again, this is such a small little thing, and again, that woman at CCMA didn't understand. She don't understand shall. She, after our second meeting, she did it. Carry out any lawful order given to him to obey the health and safety rules and procedures laid down by his employer or by anyone authorized thereto by his employer in the interest of health and safety. In other words, this is where safety officer comes in, and safety agents, that they say to you, this is the regulations, you have to follow it, and you as safety, as supervisors under safety, and as managers under safety, you have the authority to enforce safety. If in every situation which is unsafe or unhealthy comes to your attention, that is you as a supervisors, managers, and SHREP, as soon as practically report such situation to his employer or to a health and safety representative of his workplace or section thereof, as the case may be, who shall report it to the employer. In other words, if there's a situation that's unsafe or there's something that's happening that is unsafe or unhealthy for you, you report this. The workers have to report this to the supervisors, the managers, the safety officers, and a safety rep, so that it comes to the manager or comes to the employer so that it can be fixed. If you as 8.1 has been employed under occupational health and safety and construction regulation, you are then responsible because you take in the opportunity, the authority, and also the liability of this. So if you don't go and fix this up, as 8.1, 8.2, 8.7, 8.8, if you disregard this and you don't send up the chain or don't fix it, you're liable. And something happened, and there's proof that the safety rep has gone to you, or the safety or the staff has gone to you and said, listen, there's a situation, you did nothing about it, you're guilty. And you're going to get a hiding of a lifetime when it comes to this, okay? If he is involved in any accident which may affect his health or which he caused an injury to himself, report such incident to the employer or to anyone authorized thereto by the employer, or if his health and safety representative as soon as practicable, but not later than the end of a particular shift during which the incident occurred, unless the circumstances were such that the reporting of the incident was not possible, in which case reporting is soon practical thereafter. In other words, we have a case where the guy said he got hurt 3 weeks ago, but there's no record. What are we going to do about it? I can help you, we can get you medical attention, but we don't know how you got this. Now you walked in acid. I said, okay, where's the shoes you walked in? No, he doesn't have any more. So we took him doctor, and it's not that, it's actually sugar, and he's busy actually getting very sick, so he will be boarded soon. But yeah, you can't, the employees must report as soon as possible, and you need to bring that under attention. If you got hurt, report it. So we can fix it, we can investigate it, we can make sure nobody else gets reported. Section 5, duties not to interfere with, damage, or misuse things. No person shall, there is the word shall again, intentionally or recklessly interfere with, damage, misuse anything which provide an interest of health and safety. You can't misuse. I was at a site in Samancor site, and the guys were climbing up quite high, and they were just dropping it was not our people, it was actually the guys on scaffold, just dropping their things. So I called the supervisor, mate, those things save your life, you treat it like rubbish, and the moment that thing needs to help you, it's going to be damaged and you're going to get killed. If you drop the things again, I will personally take you on and I will deal with you in person, and there's nothing you can do about it. I will bring the mine in, and we will then deal with it from there. He never dropped it again. Chief Executive Officer charged with certain duties. The 16.1 in a company owns the company. It's the CEO of the company. He may decide to get somebody else to help him because he can't be everywhere. So he appoints a 16.2, but a 16.2's got all the responsibilities, and he may appoint an 8.1, which is you guys, 8.2, 8.8, and 8.7. But they have all got duties under the law. But if he's done everything that he's supposed to, and you fail, you're going to pay the piper, okay? The provision of Section 1 shall not, subject to the provision of Section 37, relieve the employer of any responsibility or liability under the Act. Okay, so it just means the 16.1 is in trouble. If something happens, it's his responsibility. But if he has delegated everything correctly and has done everything correctly, there is a time then that you as a employer, as 8.1, will get in trouble again. If he's done everything right and he has trained you, he's done you and you appointed you, and you do things wrong, you will get the hiding. So this is part of the legal liability. SHREP, you clear, don't worry about it. For the purpose of Section 1, the head of the department of any department of state shall be deemed to be the Chief Executive Officer of that department. That is just a little bit of regulations to make sure that people can't slip away. All right, Mr. Health and Safety Representatives, this part is for you. This is all the things that you have to do. All right. Supervision of subsequent to every employer who has more than 20 employees in his employment or any workplace shall. It's not up for negotiations. Within 4 months of commence of the Act or after commencing business of from such a time a number of employees is 2020, whichever the case may be, delegate in writing for a specific period health and safety representative for such a workplace or for different sections thereof. Otherwise, the moment a company opens, you got 4 months to employ health to nominate a she-rep. The moment they go over 20, they got 4 months to do that. If it's less than 20, we still employ a she-rep. It's the best way to make sure that everybody gets looked after. An employer and a representative of the employer recognized by him, or wherever you're not such representative, the employer shall consult in good faith regarding the procedures for the nominated election. Okay, so there is the she-rep got nominated. It cannot be part of management, but like I said in previous things, he has responsibilities. So a she-rep must be appointed. All right, Section 3 is to do with the minister's sale. There's some penalties if it hasn't been done. Only those employees employed in full-time capacity at a specific workplace and who are acquired with conditions and activities in that workplace or section thereof in a case may be sub-eligible for designation as a health and safety representative for that workplace or section. In other words, you can't be a part-time worker, you can't be a manager, and you need to know what's happening in the workplace. You need to have some experience. So we can't take a guy who's working there for a month. It's the older guys that's been around that gets done this. Number that needs to do this it's actually a sort of responsibility. The number of health and safety representatives for a workplace or section of shall, in a case of a shop or office, be at least one health and safety representative for every 100 employees. It's not to do with us, it's for office workers. So if you're office workers, for every 100 employees, there should be a safety rep. In a case of other workplaces, at least one health and safety representative for every 50 employees or part thereof. Provide those employees perform work at a workplace other than that where the ordinary report for duty shall be deemed to be working in a workplace. They're just making sure that people can't slip out of it. All right, they're making it clear that if you work there, the guy's been working there, then he can be made as a safety officer. Point number 6. That's what I said earlier. We just employ safety reps, even if it's less 20, because the minister comes and says, "Listen, I want a safety officer, a she-rep in that place." All activities in connection with the designation, function, and training of a health and safety representative shall be performed during ordinary working hours, or at any time reasonable spent by any employee in their regards shall be or purpose be deemed to be spent time. All right. So when he becomes a safety rep, the employee can't now say that you need to come on a Saturday for training. If you come in for Saturday training, you have to be paid. It's very simple. If you a safety rep, you've got quite an important delegation. You report to the site supervisor and you report to the safety manager or the safety officer. So you will be trained while at work. Like now you're sitting at work, and as a safety representative, you're understanding what your responsibilities is. This is just regulations. We will now go into exactly what is expected of you. Let's have a look. As a safety rep, what is expected of you? A health and safety representative may perform the following functions in respect to the workplace or section of the workplace for which he is designated. Now remember, if you're a health and safety rep, your work is to make sure that the management and the safety officer are made aware of hazards, potential hazards, or unsafe conditions. They review the effect of the health and safety measures. In other words, there's a measure put in place and you look and says, whoa, I don't think that's safe. That's why a safety rep cannot be a person who's been working there for a day or for a month or 2 months. It has to be somebody that's been around a while because they know where the problems is. identify potential hazards or potential major incidents at the workplace. In other words, they look and say that can be a problem and they need to report it. In calibration with the employer, examine the cause of accidents and incidents in the workplace. Investigate complaints by any employer related to the employer's health and safety at work. Make representation to the employers or a health and safety committee on matters arising from A, B, C, and D, or whether such representatives are unsuccessful to the inspector. Again, the safety rep goes and he represents, says, go to safety officer, go to the manager, listen, there's a problem here. If nobody does something and there's an inspector coming to things, he can then report that to the inspector. Make representation to the employer and general matters affecting health and safety of the employees of the workplace. Inspect the workplace, including inhaled substance, plant, machinery, and health and safety equipment at the workplace with a view to the health and safety of employers. So it's everything to do with the employers. All right, participate in consulting with inspectors at the workplace and occupy inspectors on inspections at the workplace. Those inspectors doesn't always have to be government inspectors. You can auditors like me go to companies to audit them. Then the health and safety rep goes with me. Receive information from inspectors as completed in section 36. And in his capacity, the health service attend meetings of the health and safety committee, of which he is a member, in connection with any of the above functions. So there's health and safety committees. The safety officer will be there, the safety manager will be there, the management will be there, safety rep will be there, and he represents the people because he's on the floor. Management's got many hats. So, but he has got a head on the floor working so he can pick up problems quicker than anybody else. The health and safety representative shall. There you've got your shall. In respect to the workplace or section of workplace from which he has been designed, be entitled to visit the site of an accident at all reasonable times and attend any inspection, attend any investigation or formal inquiry as far as necessary for performing his functions, inspect any documentation which employer is required to keep in terms of the Act. Not this financial employment stuff, it's to do with the Act. Occupy the inspector of auditor in any inspection with the approval of the employer, which approval shall not be unreasonable withheld, be accompanied by the technical advisor or any inspection, and participate in internal health and safety audits. So anything to do with health and safety, the safety rep will go with. Now again, when you pick a safety rep and the guy's got a major function in the company and that he can't leave his job because it's a vital, that guy will not work as a good health and safety rep. The person you pick must be able to step away from his work and attend these investigations, attend these audits, walk with the inspector, walk with the auditor, and be able to be approached by the workforce in relation to safety matters. A health and safety representative shall not incur any civil liabilities by reason. So, Mr. Safety Rep, you've got all these functions that you provide. You provide all this information. You go to the safety committees. You talk to the safety auditors. You talk to the inspectors. You talk to the safety officers. But if something goes wrong, you don't get into trouble. The perfect job. You just don't get in trouble. So that's the one advantage that there is for being a safety rep. All the power, none of the responsibilities. All right, health and safety committees. As 8.1, as a supervisor, as a section 1 of the company, you have to do a health and safety meeting at least once a month. Employers shall, in respect to each workplace where 2 or more health and safety representatives has been designated, establish 1 or more health and safety committee, and at every meeting of such committee as contemplated in section 4, consult with the committee with the view to integrate, develop, promote, maintain, and review the measures to ensure the health and safety of employees at work. The health and safety committee shall consist of such members as an employer may from time to time determine, provided that If one health and safety committee has been established in the respective workplace, of all the health and safety representatives of the workplace shall be members of the committee. But again, goes back to your she reps. Whenever these committees are created in your company, you are automatically part of the committee. You have to report to the committee. There is inspections that you have to do. If two or more health and safety committees has been established in a respective workplace, each health and safety representative of the workplace shall be a member of at least one of those committees. Number of persons nominated by employer or any health and safety committee established in terms of this section shall not exceed the number of health and safety representatives on the committee. The person nominated by employer on a health and safety committee shall be designated in writing. All right, the health and safety committee shall hold meetings as often as may be necessary, but at least once every 3 months. The procedure of the meetings in the health and safety committee shall be determined by the committee. The health and safety committee may co-opt one or more persons by reason of his particular knowledge of health and safety matters to be advisory members. Usually they put in the safety officer, safety manager, or SAC managers. The advisory members shall not be entitled to vote in any matter before the committee. All right, so safety officers, if they are not part in the beginning, but they are called in as to help, they don't get voting rights. If he's part of the company, then they do get it. If the inspector is of the opinion that the number of health and safety committees established for any particular workplace is inadequate, he may change his mind and he says they need to be more. Section 20, the function of the Health and Safety Committee. Make recommendations to employers, and where recommendations fail to resolve the matter to the inspector regarding a matter affecting health and safety of persons, shall discuss any incident in the workplace or section thereof in which the consequences of such any person was injured, become ill, or died, may be in writing report the incident to an inspector, shall perform such other functions as may be prescribed. A health and safety committee shall keep records. A health and safety committee or the member staff shall not incur any civil liabilities. Again, the health and safety committee is there for the workers. They're there to address and drive health and safety with the safety officers and the management. It is not it's a service. It sometimes seems that it is you've got a lot of authority, but the authority doesn't make it work. It's a teamwork and a willingness and a working together that will get this committee to work with management. And it's the understanding that everything can't always be fixed immediately. There is a process of getting things fixed. There is a budget, and run with that, and then make sure that everybody stays safe. Remember, if people get hurt or die in a company, the chances that you as a safety rep will lose your job, or safety committee member will lose their job, and as 8.1 lose your job, is massive. I think it's now been 4 years when the Lily mine people died. Those people are still underneath and the mine is closed. We know the M1 accidents. We know that people died there. Most of the companies are in liquidation or are under rescue or are closed that was involved in that. Very few companies can survive a death. It is extremely expensive. All right, but you as a committee member, they can't sue you because you are advisory. It's like the safety officers. They advise, they help, they work. They've got massive authority, but they don't have the repercussions of if something goes wrong that they get into trouble because they've warned, they've got the paperwork, they've said it has to be done. By the time you go work, remember the safety officer has already done all the work. All the paperwork is done. Everything is set up. So he's done his part. Now his job is to walk around and make sure that everything follows the paperwork. Employers shall take the prescribed steps to ensure that the Health and Safety Committee complies with the provision of Act 19.4. All right. Section 21, General Prohibitions. The Minister may indicate notice in the Government's Gazette declaring that no employer shall require to admit any employee belonging to a category of employees specified notice of work on any premises or which actively satisfy that the notice is carried out, which this is to do with the minister. He's got huge responsibilities and rights, and if you read through this, he gives certain laws through that is declared within the Gazette. and everyone needs to follow those laws. They change regularly, and you need to keep up with them. But yeah, so as I said, articles prohibited. Under subject to the provision of Section 10, if any requirements, including any health and safety standard in respect of any article, substance, plant, machinery, or health and safety equipment, as far as use or applicable thereof has been prescribed, no person shall sell and market any manner whatsoever such article, substance, plant, machinery, health and safety equipment unless it complies with the regulations. There are things that are being sold in our country that are detrimental to our health. And the occupational health and safety, like I said in the beginning, complies to every single business in the country. A few years ago, they sold little things that were seriously bad for the environment, and kids would eat it and die. And that has consequently now been taken off the market. So you're not allowed to sell things that can destroy or kill a lot of people. Everything must follow health and safety standards. Certain deductions prohibited. No employer shall, in respect of anything which he is in terms of the act required to provide or to do in the interest of health and safety. In other words, if he gives the PPE, you can't pay for the PPE. But if you damage the PPE, you need to bring it back, and new ones will be given to you. So yes, they can't. If you have to work with the harness, says that you have to buy your own harness. All right. So everything within the law, the employer must give to the employee, and the employee will not pay for it. But you as an employee, as you've seen before, have a responsibility to make sure that you look after those things, because if you don't look after it, like the safety harness, you are liable to be prosecuted. You must remember, you can't receive something in a manner that it protects you, and you treat it like garbage and throw it on the floor. It doesn't work like that. You need to look after these things. Let me step out here for a few seconds. There is golden rules when you're working for a company, and if you follow these golden rules, the chance that you will ever get fired is zero. And if you get fired, to get a new job interview, and you say and you bring this into your interview, you have a very, very, very good chance, close to 100% getting hired. Number one, you don't steal from the company you work for. And Afrikaans has said you don't go and poof before the door, if you're in your own kitchen. All right, you just don't do that. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. You don't take anything that belongs to the employer, because this is where you get paid. If that company falls, then you're in trouble. And at a 46.2% unemployment rate in this country, the highest in the world, the last thing you want to do as an employee is get fired. Just let this sink in for you. If you lose your job today, you have to compete with at least 400 people per job. That used to be the case. I've read an article the other day where there was a job opening. There's 5 jobs openings. 6,500 people rocked up for 5 jobs. That's your competition. You are already within your job. So don't steal. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. Because if you leave the company, you have to go look for something else. And it's not going to be easy. Look after the equipment. The safety equipment is given there to save your life. The last thing you want to do is treat it like garbage and not look after it and just throw it on the floor and don't care, because that thing may just have to save your life in a few months' time, and you didn't look after it and it fails, and you are done for. And if you're done for, think about your wife and think about your children and your parents and everybody else that knows you, you're gone. So look after your equipment. Don't go and sleep in the corners when you're supposed to work. Work, produce. And lastly, produce with quality. I was working at A&R Engineering. Unfortunately, they've closed down, and it's a shame. But they had a hell of a lot of steel to make for scaffolding. And let me tell you, I've never seen such a good lot of workers put together, because I think the manager was Jan Huisman, made sure that the offcuts, when that project was over, if you have a look at Six Sigma black level, black level, or the black belt level, they have accomplished that 100%. So if you can do your work, don't steal, give quality of work, work hard, look after your equipment, How is a guy going to find you? You become valuable. And I want to add something else. Right now in this country, it seems like everybody is becoming mediocre. Here's the problem. We as workers and we as management are competing with China. And let me tell you, they're running circles around us. Those people have a work ethic that we are not able to catch up. And if we don't pull up our socks, we're going to have problems. That is just something that you need to understand. Safety is vital. And you have to look after the equipment that you work with. And we have to have a work ethic, a safe work ethic, because we're going to pick up problems in the next few years with China because they are moving. All right. Report of inspector regarding certain incidents. Let's have a look. When there's a death, of course, you have to report it. Dangerous substance was spilled, uncontrollable release of any substance under pressure, machinery or any part thereof function or failed, resulting in falling and uncontrollable moving objects, machinery run out of control, shall within prospective period and prospective manner be reported. So the machine goes, it has happened that machines go haywire. Any person die as number one, becomes unconscious, suffers the loss of a limb, part of a limb, or better injured, or becomes ill in such a degree that he is likely either to die or suffer a permanent physical defect, or likely to be unable for a period of at least 14 days to work or to continue with the activity for which he was employed or usually employed. So we have to report this. In the event of an accident in which a person died or was injured in such an extent that he is likely to die or suffer losses of limb, we need to report that, and vision shall apply with respect to traffic shall not apply in respect to traffic accidents. I think they should bring that in because the amount of people dying on the roads right now is frightening. You can't. There's some roads in this country you can't drive right now. An accident occurred in a private household. You don't have to do that. You go to a police department accident, which to be investigated under Section 12. Any action which is kind of Section 12 of the Aviation Act, it's nothing to do with us. A member of South African police to whom an accident was reported in terms of the section shall forthright notify the inspector thereof. All right, Section 25 and 26. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. Report to Chief Inspector regarding replacement disease. There is some diseases that is occurred years ago, like asbestos, and recently we've got silicosis, and these are becoming. I think the asbestos is coming to an end. I think the last or the highest reporting was last year. But any medical practitioner who examines or treats a person for a disease described in second schedule of the Workers' Compensation Act, or any other disease which he believes arose out of the person's employment shall, within a described period of time and manner, report the case the person employs the chief inspector. All right, so this is to do with a medical practitioner. That is not what we are, but they have to report some diseases that occurs. I will give you an example that is now actually landed in front of the American. It's in South Africa as well, but it landed in front of American judicial courts. What happened is you get in the chicken farms, when they slaughter chickens, they pick the chickens and lift them up over their head and they hang them on their feet and then run through a lane. Now that movement has caused some muscular disorders into the upper arms and stuff of people, and they are actually losing the ability of the arms, of the hand, of the ability to lift up the hands above their shoulders. So when these guys pick it up, they have to report it. In 1970s, the South African practitioners reported asbestos, and it became known as asbestosis, which you drown in your own blood in your lungs because asbestos cannot be destroyed. It's a brilliant product. It can't burn, can't destroy it. Nothing can hurt it except a hammer. And they reported in South Africa, and it became worldwide, and asbestos got basically banned in the world stage. Victimization forbidden. No employer shall dismiss an employer or reduce the rate of his remuneration or alter his terms of conditions. What has happened is the guy reports that there's a problem in the company, and now the employer is upset because they've gone through the safety officers, they've gone through the management, they've gone through the safety committees, and nobody's done a thing. So now they go and they report it to the inspector, and now there's major issues, and the employer gets a hiding, and now suddenly he's upset with the employee. It's not the fault of the employee. You, as the manager in the 16.1, screwed up. Just take your punishment. Safety is about upstreaming. In other words, it's about prevention. You don't want to land in this situation. You want to prohibit it. You want to stop it. So you take action. You respond to the things before they happen. You act. You fix it. Because now, when it gets to this stage, you're in trouble. When people get hurt, you're in trouble. When people die, you're in trouble. And when you get reported to the Department of Labor, you're already in trouble. All you had to do is be reasonable, listen to the thing, and then put in a schedule and communicate it to your people. Says, listen, I can't fix this now. Don't have the money. This is how we're going to fix it for the next 3 or 4 months. And you put it and you show them and you report back to them. Just communication. That's all you had to do. And all this will not happen. Communicate. Think. Be proactive. And it will make a massive difference in the business. Again, this is to do with the minister and to do with inspectors. They come into your shop, they basically walk through your shop, and they can give you hell. I was sitting in a meeting a few months ago where the inspectors, for the environmental inspectors come, and they dished a 2.25 million fine. When bang, thank you, ma'am. The company can't survive that. So we're busy dealing with that because the inspectors didn't understand that the air that this company blows out is clean the air in the area. You know, if you look at a fan blowing up, there's always dust and things around it, and there's dirt. You go where these fans blow out, and it's cleaner there than it is 50 meters from them, because the air that they blow out, every particle that they lose, that they blow out, they lose money. So they keep every single particle, because that particles can get used in something else. So they make sure that they lose nothing. Not even a single particle goes out of that fence. So they pick everything up, they clean it up 100%, and they send it out. I think they've got 1/50th the particles in the air than the air outside, that the air actually outside the company is. So yeah, these guys come in, they can give you some trouble. All right, designation inspector by the minister, again, that's not our things. The function inspector is not our problem. They go in, they do what you want to do. You listen to them, and remember, you as a safety rep, you walk with them. All right, you do what you give the information. But again, when these guys come around to inspect you, your paperwork should be in order. Your safety officer should have that in order. Supervisors, managers, if you don't have your stuff in order and these guys rock up, you've got problems. All right. And if they've caught you once and they find you, they're going to be on your case constantly, because you're a soft target. They must know who you are. The last thing you want to know is land into trouble with these guys. I've seen it. There's another audit, I think it's tomorrow, that I'm attending, again with environmentalists. You don't want to get noticed by these people. All right. They've got powers. Believe me, they've got powers. They can do some stuff to your company, and there's nothing you can do about it. They walk in, they will warn you. They walk in, they inspect your company, they go through your company. They want to see the books, and the safety rep and safety officer needs to be on the ball, and they walk with them and they make sure that these things are done. Now, you as a supervisor, if these guys find mistakes, it is you that's going to get hidings. These guys are going to give you, the work is not going to get the hidings here. It's you as the supervisors, you as the managers, that's going to get the hidings. So you need to make sure that you follow the regulations, you follow the laws, otherwise you will get a hiding. These guys go and give you hidings. They rock up, and when they're not happy with you and you think you're the cat snorter and you want to do what you want to do, they're going to come back with more things, and they've got powers, and they're going to shut you down. They can shut you down. Simple. So you've got responsibilities. You don't want to get land in this place. You want to treat these guys with respect. You show everything is done and they leave. You're boring. And then they'll come a year later again to you. But if they catch you once, they're going to be on your case all the time. Investigations. They conduct investigations. The safety officer, safety manager, safety rep walk with them, and there's nothing you can do. All right. If somebody dies in your things, they will rock up. If somebody loses their hands, they will rock up. And you as a safety, you as a manager, 8.1, 8.2, 8, and the supervisor, 8.7, 8.8, you're going to have problems, and it's going to go up all the way to the 16.1. And if they find that you have messed up, this is where you're going to get your hidings. When they investigate you, and you haven't followed all the other regulations, that is what they will pull your pants down. So just remind that you don't want these guys in your premises. Formal inquiries, again, they come in, they check what you're doing, but they'll give you notice. But they will give you hidings. Joint inquiries, it's when they bring in other people with white suits that rocks up in your place. They've got laws that they then bring in lawyers that bring you don't want to get here, guys. This is when you're here and you get into trouble, don't get there. Make sure that you do the rest of things right. Again, obstruction, you can't obstruct it. Forget about it. Once they come in, they've said to you, I'm coming in. They set a date. They do investigation. You can't stop it. They have the power. They can make some decisions. You can appeal against it. Again, let me go back to what I said about upstreaming, preventative. All actions can be prevented if we keep with the rules, if the supervision is right, and we focus on what we do. You as managers and supervisors, Rep, you're not into this, but yeah. You don't want to land here. Now it becomes timely, becomes costly, the business can't operate and you can't do your work. This is when you wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and stare at the ceiling, because this will keep you up. Prevention is better than cure. Run upstream. Make sure you don't land into these guys' hands. Disclose information. No person shall disclose any information concerning an affair to any other person obtained by him carrying out a function in terms of accept, which may be necessary for the purpose of administration, for the purpose of administration of justice. It's falling with the new acts of privacy, okay? Acts of omission by employers or mandatories. Whenever an employee does not omit to do any act which would be an offence in terms of this act, the employer and such employer of the user to do and omit to do them unless it is provided that it's ongoing omission to do the act the employee was acting without the permission of the employer or such. There's things that we do the inductions, we do the training, we do whatever is needed. We do train on risk assessments. We train you guys on all this. It is there to protect you. So when something goes wrong, that you're going to have a few nightmares, but you can still walk away intact. A little bit grayer, a little bit older, lessons learned. It is better for prevention. I keep on hitting on prevention. Then you land here. You don't want to land here. You don't want your employees to get into trouble. The advantage of the employees, and again, let me be very honest, in every single investigation, once they can't find a mistake in the trainees, once they can't find a mistake on you as supervisors and managers, once they can't find a mistake on the safety officers, because they've done their work, Once they can't find the mistake on the paperwork, the 16.2 and the 16.1, it then lands on the employees. I have very seldom seen that they prosecute employees. Very seldom. They sort of don't rock up for the rest of the meetings. Discipline actually goes through and we fire the employees or we do whatever. But they lose interest. If they can't nail you, they lose interest. I've never been to one where it gets down to the employees and they start messing with the employees. They leave. Then it's your problem. They just want to come to screw you over. Penalties. You want to go through these penalties. You get into trouble from fines all the way down to going to court. You don't want to have that. Prove a certain facts. By the time you hear you're in trouble. You don't want to be here. Whenever any legal proceeding in terms of acts, it is provided any person was present or in any premises, the person, unless contrary is provided, be presumed to be an employee. In absence of certificate proof of age, the age of any person shall in any legal proceeding in terms of act be presumed and be that stated by the inspector. Any legal proceeding in terms of act, any statement or entry containing any book or document kept by any employer or the use by his employees or mandatory or found on the premises for copies by a use of that employer or use. Everything they find on the site they can use. All right. This is to do with the legal proceedings. By this time, you will be dealt with lawyers because you're in trouble. Exemptions. Again, the minister makes some exemptions that we need to follow. The act not affected by arrangements. The act stands. The only act above this act is the Constitution. The provision of this act or the conditions specified in any notice or direction issued thereunder or subject to with exceptions was granted any person under section 1 shall not be affected by any conditions of any agreement, whatever such agreement was entitled in before. The act just superpose everything except the Constitution. It just rolls over everything. Again, the minister may delegate and assign certain functions, again to do with the minister. Again, to do with the minister, he will do that. There's notice. What happens is that these notices comes to us through the Gazette. We have to read it. We then implement it, and we train our people on it. The Magistrate Court shall have jurisdiction to impose any penalties to make any other provision of the Act. No Magistrate Court shall be competent or procure upon the validity of any regulations. That is all out of our hands. That's out of our hands to do with the Act. Before we finish, you as managers and supervisors, you don't want to land in the last part of the Act. From 28 onwards, if you land there, it becomes expensive, then lawyers get involved, and all those kinds of things. There's a hell of a lot of legal liability on you. There's a hell of a lot of fines that can be imposed on you. Your business can be closed down. That is the dark side of the Act. The last thing you want to do is land there. Go back to the beginning. You got your policy, your SHE-REP, your SHE committees. Do these things. Follow the Act as it is. Work with your safety officer. Prevent things, investigate things, make sure that things are in place. Go through regulations, make sure, we will run regulations later, make sure that you follow the Act. You don't want to go and land in the last part of this Act when you are going to get hidings. From 28 till 43, most of those are there to give you hidings, or imprison you, or fine you. You don't want to sit 3 o'clock in the morning on your bed, staring at the ceiling, scared of your wits because you don't know what's going to happen because you screwed up. That's the last thing you want to do. Do the things right. A stupid thing, like check sheets. Let your employees do the check sheets before they start the work. Because if they get hurt, then they've done the check sheet. You said, but wait a minute, you've done this. Make sure they do a DSA, Daily Safe Task Instruction, where you monitor to see if there is any new hazards. And if it is, report that to the safety officer, to me, so that I can fix it, so I can add it to the risk assessment. Make sure your people wear the PPE. Make sure they inspect the safety harnesses. Make sure that they inspect the work area before you start, and supervise them. I was called to 3 o'clock in the morning to a site where the supervisor fell asleep, and they were doing demolition. And they were not even supposed to be on that site because they were moved from another site. That site was supposed to be closed. And a guy cut a piece of steel, and 3.5 tons fell on another guy's back. The repercussions of that is massive. Now it gets expensive because you've got public liability, you've got civil actions against you, and you're going to land your time in court. Half your life for 6 to 18 months is gone. You will sit with lawyers, which you have to pay a massive amount of money to understand all these things that you have done wrong. And these inspectors and these investigators are going to run through all those things, and they've got power. There's nothing you can do. But to make sure that you survive this, if something may go wrong, you make sure your paperwork is right. You make sure that you supervise. You do everything within your power that is reasonably practical to make sure that you follow every aspect of the law. That will give you a massive fighting chance to survive. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. There's a legal responsibility on USS 16.1, 16.2, Construction Regulation 8.1, 8.2, 8.7, and 8.8. Safety reps, this is not part of it. You are not falling into this. You are okay. For the rest of the supervisors, you have legal liabilities. And those legal liabilities from 28, those inspectors, those investigations, all those things that happens. They've got the authority and they issue you warnings, they give you prohibitions, you're in trouble. You don't want to land there. Fix everything before. So when they come, it's a smooth ride. They find 1, 2 mistakes, you fix it up and you report it back and you finish your stuff. That is my advice to you. The legal liability is massive. You're not there to do the work. You're there to supervise so the company are protected. Thank you very much.